Be a good one. Penny Black. I've never heard of that in my life. Here it is. What is this? I've played it, apparently. I played 4 minutes of it in 2018. 8 years ago. 7 years ago. What is this? A dating simulator? Only has 100 reviews. Install it. I'll play this one next. I don't know if I want to really... Crypt of the Necrodancer doesn't sound super entertaining right now. Maybe I will be pleasantly surprised. Alright, let's full screen this. Get into it. I'm covering everything, so give me a second. Can you guys see this at all? Small? Do it like that. Okay, story. To finally plucking up the courage, you, the nameless protagonist, asked your school classmate out on a date. Her name was Penny Black, a girl slightly shorter than most girls her age, with short black hair and bright blue eyes. To your surprise, she accepted your proposal. The meeting point was just outside the Soma Cinema Complex, Saturday at 11 o'clock. This is where your little adventure, or misadventure, begins. Okay. Please make sure that caps lock is on before playing. Programmed in BBC Basic. Press 1 to start. Okay, cool. Waiting for Penny. You walk briskly through the Soma city, avoiding families, businessmen, and groups of teenagers dressed in a whole manner of vibrant colors. Today was a Saturday, and the city was filled with an abundance of people and traffic. You, however, have lived in Soma City for most of your life, so going through the busy streets just feels like an ordinary, everyday ritual. Ordinary. If it wasn't for the fact that you were going out with a certain girl from your class today. Press enter to continue. Can I type? I look around. You breathe out a sigh, and you reach the desired destination. That destination being just outside the Soma Cinema Complex. You stand and wait to the right of the double doors, occasionally glancing at the people entering and exiting the building. Penny was nowhere in sight. You realize you've arrived a little earlier than expected. In all honesty, that was a good thing. Gave you extra time for breathing space and to mentally prepare yourself. Food. I'm hungry. There's a lot of... Hold on. I'm going to see if I can't do this better. Will you capture... Window capture. You check your wardrobe and belongings. You decided to dress casually, wearing a dark red shirt, blue jeans, white trainers. In your left pocket, you have a mobile phone, and your wallet is stored in your right one. Due to forgetfulness, you have not yet registered Penny's details on your phone, but you remembered her number off by heart. The time showed 10:30 on your watch. You and Penny both agreed to meet here at around 11 because the available films to watch were showing a short while later on. You waited and waited and waited. You check your watch after 10 minutes, then after 5, then every minute. You start to panic. 2 minutes gone to 11, and there's still no sign of Penny. Wait an extra couple of minutes, or you have a better suggestion. Maybe you could phone her. Please note, this is your first time playing. Keep in mind that the game only accepts one-word answers. Also, all answers must be entirely in capital letters. I think calling her might be a good idea. You shut the phone from your pocket. Originally, you thought about talking to her, but decided it was wiser to send her a text or message instead. But as you select that option, a small mountain of jigsaw pieces enters your mind. What to type in? What to type in? You have no idea what to say. Perhaps "where are you" might be a nice start, but that sounds so abrupt and insincere. Hello? Suddenly, a shiver is on your spine. Move the phone away from your face, only for her sight to be greeted with another face. Vivid pools of blue greet you. Too occupied with your phone, you fail to realize Penny, your classmate, and your date has appeared right in front of you. Penny wore a black t-shirt with a skull design on the center. She also wore a pink and yellow tartan skirt, long white socks, and red trainers. Slung over her shoulder was a handbag, which was colored magenta, not to mention decorated with a whole manner of trinkets and charms. Of course, she had her trademark short black hair and alluring blue eyes. Your phone suddenly becomes a hot potato as you juggle it a few times before shoving it back into your pocket. Sorry I was late. My train was delayed, Penny stated, looking downcast. You shrug as if it was no big deal. No, don't worry about it. But your phone, were you... Phone? Oh, my phone. I was just about to... Penny sighs and looks at her shoes. I wanted to text you, but we forgot to register our numbers. That's okay, you reply. You're here now, and that's all that matters. Both look at each other, smiling briefly. Shall we get going, then? Yes, kind of hoping the answer would be yes. Penny nods in reply. You push one of the door open, allow Penny to walk in front of you. My score is 10. Scene 2. You and Penny step inside the Soma Cinema Complex, your feet warmly greeted by the smooth red carpet. Even in its off-peak hours, the place was still thriving with people of all ages. The ambience of conversation, laughter, and arguments were quite overpowering. There's a large queue straight ahead, which is where you and Penny need to be if you wish to buy your tickets. The queue is descending rapidly, though, so it shouldn't take long. A short distance to your left is where the snack bar is located. It is easily distinguishable and checkered by its checkered floor tiles, identical circular tables, and half a dozen vending machines. There's also a glass cabinet monitored by staff, showcasing an array of edibles, savory and sweet. Perhaps you should check the place out before or after watching your chosen film. All around you, you can see many small screens repeatedly showing trailers of the films available to watch today. 3, in particular, catch your attention. The first one is a horror film, titled Zombie Venom Armageddon. It looks frightening to say the least, and you wonder why on earth such a film is on during this time of day. It is certainly a possibility. It would be far from boring, and who knows, Penny might just latch onto you once or twice, out of fear. Second is an action film called Space Turbo Knights XX Revenge of the Galaxy Gigaverse Overlord 3D. The film is currently the talk of the city, and everyone you knew at school is ranting and raving about it. It's essentially a bunch of brightly colored warriors doing battle with space aliens and other hordes of enemies. Saving the day, saving the world, that sort of thing. Feel tempted to check it out, just to see if it is truly worth the hype, but would Penny be interested as well? The third film is a romantic one, the kind of film your parents might be into, but unlikely to be your cup of tea. The Love and Wonders of Fleeting Jack is the title, and there's little else you know about it. Besides looking all lovey-dovey and full of drama, however, a romantic film might be the perfect mood maker between you and Penny. As the queue begins to streak, you realize you have little time to make a decision. Type horror, romance, type horror, action, or romance, Or you could ask Penny. I'm going to ask. Which film would you like to watch? You ask Penny. Penny looks around, glancing at all the trailers. Her forefinger traces around the image of her t-shirt as she tries to think of an answer. Fortunately, her eventual response was kind of wishy-washy. Well, I don't mind, really. Whatever you pick will be fine. You lower your shoulders a little, hoping she would be a touch more decisive. Looks like the ball's back in your court. What film will you go for? Hit a skull on her chest. Makes me think horror, because she was chasing the design on her chest, is what that just said, so maybe it's trying to hint. Maybe that's the right choice. Horror. You purchased 2 tickets for Zombie Venom Armageddon and wondered what on earth made you go for that choice. Even holding the tickets makes you quiver all over. You and Penny walk up a flight of stairs, and through a couple of passageways until you reach a door marked Screen 13. You both step inside the theater, the rich smell of popcorn filling the air. For a horror film to be shown this time of day, it was surprisingly busy. Many seats were occupied by couples and groups around your age. Excited chatter was heard by a lot of them. Checking the numbers shown on the tickets, you feel a twist in your stomach. Oh, you said quietly, realizing something was up. These are front row tickets. Maybe that was a good thing. Maybe that was a bad thing. You guess it depends on how terrifying the film is. As you turn to face Penny, she's already scampered to the front of the big screen. She's beaten you in taking her seat and was eagerly waiting for the film to start. Does Penny like this sort of thing? It looks like it. Looks like I made the right choice. With haste, you make your way forward and sit next to Penny. Strange. Being this close to a girl, you expected to feel more nervous than this. That is ridiculous. I guess maybe I'm playing a kid or a teenager, or, you know. But, like, have you never been next to a woman before? And are you always nervous when you're next to a woman? That's kind of embarrassing if you are. Anyway, perhaps the tension of the film started to overrule your nervousness. Once all the advertisements and trailers finished, the main feature began. You sat in near darkness, only the big screen illuminating the theater. Right off the bat, death, carnage, and terror fill your vision, quite literally, given as you were so close to the screen. Felt like you're practically one of the actors. Running around in total panic, few jump scares make you jolt back and fright, and you would half expect Penny to do the same thing, but no, nothing of the sort. If anything, Penny was captivated. She seemed to relish watching everything fall apart and burn in hell. Who'd have thought this girl portraying petite delicacy could be into something so dark and twisted and nasty and evil? 2 hours later, the film reached its conclusion. There were 2 survivors, and the world was decimated beyond all human recognition. You barely survived yourself. The darkness returned to full light, and Penny skipped out of Screen 13, happy as a lamb. You, on the other hand, staggered behind, soulless, void of joy. After the film, you both decide to grab something to eat at the snack bar. In the display cabinet, Penny buys a sandwich and 3 thin slices of cake. They all have different icing on, one with vanilla, one with strawberry, and one with chocolate. Meanwhile, you were content with just a medium-sized vegetable pasty. Seeing numerous human limbs being torn apart has put you off of eating meat for a little while. Midway through your meal, you decide to make conversation. So, I take you're into horror films? Penny nods, wiping a bit of strawberry frosting from her lip. Feels a little bit embarrassed. Yeah, you could say it's a guilty pleasure of mine. She continues talking, slowly breaking out of her shy mask. She explains how her bedroom is more than 50% filled with horror DVDs, undead figurines, and all sorts of gothic items. Even her walls and ceilings are painted black. What about you? Penny asks. Do you enjoy it? It was an experience, but it wasn't all that scary, really. Penny frowned, except for that one time you clutched onto me. Oh crap, she would remember that bit. But that was where the zombie wolf ate half of the soldier's head off. You look awkwardly at her, searching for the right thing to say. And Penny covers her mouth, trying to suppress the urge to giggle. Hey, that's not funny, you protest. Even before the end of that sentence, you find yourself breaking into laughter as well. Once you both settle down and finish your food, the two of you then leave the cinema complex via double doors. Well, looks like the date is heading off to a good start, even if it was at the price of your sanity. That's so loud. It says that there's audio coming through. It says there's constant audio running through my, like it's Penny Black is running a constant audio. So I'm gonna mute it. Anyway. Scene 3. You both agree that the city square would be your next place to visit. Keeping close to each other, you bypass the crowds and the traffic, then soon arrive at the set location. In spite of her smaller stature, Penny seems to keep up with you just fine. Though busy, Soma City Square carried more of a pleasant air about itself. On its smooth, stony surface, children were chasing each other, laughing, jumping around, and screaming in joy. Meanwhile, young moms and dads were gossiping away, talking about everything that revolved around school life, family, and just life in general. I never understood why it was called City Square, because its whole layout more resembled a hexagonal shape. The locals would be in uproar if it were changed to Soma City Hexagon. Whatever. To the middle right and across the bridge is where the Center Plus Plus is located. It is a giant shopping center that holds numerous shops and stores and all sorts of areas of amusement. Consider going there, but for now, you've taken all the sights and sounds. Wait, hold that thought. Instinct, you look at the sky. The sun is trying its best to shine, but the dark clouds may develop into a heavy shower sooner rather than later. A mild rumble. That doesn't sound too healthy. You reckon you have enough time to visit one location with Penny, but where to go? At the center of the square lies the grand fountain, an immaculate craft of bronze and silver. The fountain continuously sprays water that alternates from clockwise to counterclockwise. A few children are dancing around the attraction in circles, further highlighting its appearance. North of the fountain was a stone statue of a male soldier. He was standing on top of the platform, his arm raised, and in a permanent salute. You don't remember seeing that statue before, so they must have just built it there recently. Slightly to the right of the statue was a small vacant flower garden, displaying a nice simple pattern of what appears to be dandelions and daffodils. It was certainly one of the more scenic distractions in the square. Located in the southeast, you can see a lone busker playing what you think looks like a saxophone. Unfortunately, she doesn't seem to be playing it all that well. You are no expert, but you can detect the odd, incorrect note here and there. A flock of pigeons were pecking away at bits of breadcrumbs in the southwest. A single boy, aged 7 or 8, was trying his best to feed them all, quiet and contentment. Lastly, west of the fountain, you can see a male magician dressed entirely in violet. His teeth were perfect dazzling white, and he was definitely not shy in showing them off, smiling all the time. He entertained the crowd of 20-something children by doing all sorts of magic tricks, pulling near endless supply of multicolored socks. It was all pretty standard and cliche. But the part where he fired miniature confetti exploding rockets from his hat looked pretty spectacular. The guy was a pro. After briefly examining everything in sight, the magician holds your interest the most. Of course, you have to think about Penny as well. Maybe she would like a location with more solitude, like the flower garden. I want to go hang out with the pigeons. Um, Bird. Does pigeon not work? We'll go to the busker then. Okay. Two of you approach the musician, who is yet to draw in any kinds of attention, whereas the magician was attracting numerous people. Made sense, really. You had the impression that the magician had been practicing for years and years and years, whereas the busker was probably her opening debut. You chose the distance between the busker and yourself carefully, close enough to hear the music, but far enough as to not make things uncomfortable. Although the instrument emitted the sound of a saxophone, its appearance was more modern looking. It was two-thirds the size of its original, and instead of its normal golden brass, it was a bright color of purple. Especially unique for her own appearance. Equally unique was her own appearance. The busker was quite tall for her age, which you guessed was around 18. She wore a blue summery dress and short black boots. Her hair was concealed with a large straw hat decorated with 6 interesting badges. From left to right, the badges on her hat consisted of a 4-leaf clover, a tarantula, a rainbow, an octopus, a pear, and a white cat. Sadly, her appearance and performance did not go hand in hand. Whether it was the wrong note, or the wrong tempo, or the wrong timing, the young busker made her mistakes rather frequently. Her mouth tightens as you start to feel sympathy for her. You could tell she was trying really, really hard. This was made even worse when the two girls, a little younger than yourself and Penny, began to point and laugh at the busker's misfortune. You were starting to lose your cool. Before you made any kind of reaction, Penny walked over and knelt beside the busker's empty container. She dropped a good handful of coins inside, standing upright again. Penny looked sideways, took a sideways glance in your direction. You noted the rare and serious expression on her face and nodded in response. No words needed to be spoken. No words needed to be spoken. You get close to the container and pitch in your own donation, roughly the same as Penny's generosity. Busker nodded through her instrument. The two of you could tell she was grateful. As for the girls laughing, their laughter ceased immediately. Suddenly, they felt like the ones put on stage. One whispered something to the other's ear, and the two of them left in a rather abrupt manner. As you left the busker, I'm back. Uh, as for the girls laughing, their laughter ceased immediately. Suddenly, they felt like the ones put on stage. One whispered something to the other's ear, and then the two of them left in an abrupt manner. As you left the busker, you notice a few spots of rain on the ground. You look up, and the sky is shrouded with gray clouds. A shower soon follows, making you and Penny double your speed as you dash away to the center plus plus. Before you head inside, you take one last look at the saxophone player. She came prepared for the weather, for she was holding a green umbrella in one hand whilst playing the sax with the other. You smiled, admiring her determination. I'm bored. I am bored. I'm done. Okay. So that one, um, Penny Black game. Penny, Penny Black. Um, Not good. I mean, it isn't bad, I think, for what it is. You know, like it's a text game, it's got a lot of words. I want to put it in D. Because, like I said, it's not bad for what I think it's trying to be. I would never go back and play it again, though. It's what you get though. It is a text-based dating sim. Pretty linear one, but it is one. Okay. That one. Spin the wheel. Elden Ring. I have to download Elden Ring.